If this is your first time here, I'm Altruistic Heart, but you can call me Olive. I wanted to thank you all for the heartwarming support I have gained from my last video release. I am so thankful to have people that love my art and want to see me continue with YouTube. Also, I got a new iPad. This is something my boyfriend surprised me with, which he definitely did not need to do for me at all. But he's been such a big support to me and my artwork, so I'm so grateful for him to donate this to me. I also want to apologize for not keeping up with YouTube every week. It's really difficult because I have a lot of other things that I have to do during the week. And also, I've been really preoccupied by the Roblox hunt, which took me so long to finish. And it was so draining, and I definitely don't recommend doing it. But probably by this recording, it's probably over now. Anyways, also, if you guys have any video ideas you want me to make, please let me know. It can be anything art related. Also, I'm planning on doing a Q&A for the next video, so it gives me time to catch up on things. So you can just write questions in the comments. This may be a long video, so feel free to grab a snack and a drink. You can always have this video in the background while you're working or doing something else. Anyways, to the video. In today's video, I dedicated this week to work on a character sheet for one of my main OCs that is part of a personal project, hopefully a video game that I'm currently working on called the Star Project. Now, I've never really made a character sheet before, so this is really my first time doing it. I wasn't able to completely finish it due to deadlines and everything, so I know her design is probably going to change over, the course of me doing this project and stuff, so I'm not really too fixated on her design right now. But yeah, this is her for now. The name of the project is called Star Project, but it's just a holder name because it's not fully worked out yet. Although I have a main gist of what the story is, and it will develop further over time. So her name is Kitey. I drew this character about a year ago, which I did show in the last video. I further developed her character design years later. Because of this, you should always sketch or jot down any thoughts or ideas you have in your sketchbook, since you never know when you could go back and use it for inspiration, which in my case, I did exactly that. I always write down in my notes apps any phrases, items, words, literally anything that I come up with or I come across, even in real life, over the internet, really anything. I even sometimes draw little concept sketches on my phone, even really late at night, which usually I get like a burst of inspiration while I'm laying in bed, almost about to go to sleep. I usually write this down or draw something so I remember it in the morning. Just keep tabs on things that I find really interesting or cool. And these sketches do not have to be anything special, just something for yourself to understand. Now, I have a personal connection with Kitey. She is a more surreal and artistic take on several personal situations that I experienced when I was 15. Although I decided to be inspired by my childhood self for this project. I'll give you an overall summary of her story and theme of the environment. The Star Project is an ongoing endeavor centered around a young girl who becomes lost within her mother's mind, disconnected from reality. Throughout her treacherous journey through the labyrinth of her mother's brain, she tries desperately to grasp the understanding of grief due to losing her mother at a young age. The environment consists of a bunch of stage theater sets that will be based on the 6 brain sections. Each section has a different brain function, which will reflect the stage design when the girl discovers each area. For example, the frontal lobe includes the emotional traits, which would be a series of stages throughout that section that are based on emotions. I am planning to make this project into an adventure game with a little bit of horror mixed into it. I adore how my favorite video games convey stories, therefore I decided to make this project for myself. It is also such a personal story where I always want to go back and figure out and expand upon it. And honestly, since I started developing this project back in September, I saw major improvements with my art. I keep updates on my Instagram story pretty frequently, and I save those stories to a highlight called the Star Project. I always like matching music with my stories on Instagram. It gives you an overall vibe of my project. Music has always had a major impact on me, and I love connecting it to my story. And it's something that I hopefully will be able to dive into for this project, like even just making my own music for it would be really, really cool. I also made a playlist with all the songs from my stories into a Spotify playlist. You can check that out if you're interested, and I'll leave links in the description. Before I move on to my inspirations, I wanted to give a trigger warning because I will be talking about personal experiences, cancer, and death, and I will put down when to skip to the next section if you want to avoid this. I just decided to add this into this video just because it is literally the biggest inspiration for my project, even though I can talk about really heavy subjects during this, so I want to give you a fair warning. So like I've said before, the Star Project is based on some traumatic events that I experienced when I was 15. My mother was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, also known as glioblastoma, when I was 15. This disease was something so complex for me to understand. It's like you grieve 3 times. In the early stages, you grieve once for her diagnosis and knowing that she'll never get better again. She had to be on so much medication, radiation, and chemotherapy during this time, and even going through surgery, which I was there for, on her frontal lobe. In the middle stages, you grieve twice, when she starts to not act like herself anymore, losing personality, emotion, her way of communication, and even becomes bedridden. In the last stage, you grieve 3 times knowing your mother passed away to an ongoing battle to such a complex cancer that nobody really understands. My mother is still with me today, which has been such a miracle and really strange to a sense, because patients that do have glioblastoma or brain cancer usually do not live this long. So I'm just really thankful. She has been in an okay state. I think she's pretty stable, and I really look up to her strength, and I can't imagine anybody else being in this situation. I have been and still is her caretaker from this day forward, so this is also a reason why videos have been kind of late. It has been a little more than 5 years since her diagnosis. Creating this project gives me a healthy way to express my grief artistically instead of beating myself up all the time for not doing enough, even though I am doing as much as I can and the best that I can, and which she knows that. I've been inspired by the games Little Nightmares, Amori, Franbo, and a bunch of events from other games to help me figure out the style for this project. Even the game Princess Peach Showtime, which was announced around the same time I started developing this project, which is really ironic and definitely a good source of inspiration. So for her story, I always like talking to my friend Jen about anything artistic. I always talk about my project with him, and we both sparked an idea for her story and how to connect it to a different project that we both have been working on. When Lulu was a baby, her mother gave her a hand-me-down doll. Lulu found a connection with the doll and greatly treasured it. Her mother has owned this doll since childhood, and when she died, her spirit connected to the doll. After her mother's death, Lulu experienced intense emotions, which were seeping into her mother's doll as well. The young child was unaware of the concept of death and how it affected her mother when she passed away, bringing that emotion, Kitey, into her mother's mind, the stage. When a human emotion is transferred into an antique, a strange dimension develops. In a particular instance, Lulu found herself trapped in a surreal, symbolic world inspired by her mother. Therefore, she can see her mother's memories. The objective is that Kitey discovers her mother's memories throughout the game as she attempts to figure out the cause of her mother's death. The game shows signs of corruption the farther you venture, which symbolizes the tumor. When the girl finally understands why her mother left the way she did, the full corruption completes, putting her mother's soul to rest at last. And the little girl is back in her own body again, filled with an overload amount of grief. Side note, since Lulu's grief seeped into her mother's doll, Lulu lost the feeling of grief and becomes monotone or numb to the emotion until Kitey comes to terms with her mother's passing. After that, Kitey reunites with Lulu. Basically, her mother's soul is inside the doll while only Lulu's emotion becomes an entity of its own, Kitey. The idea of relating a human emotion to an antique is based off of another project that I'm working on with a friend. I also wanted to mention about the starlets. The starlets are a design I made before this story. What's funny, while doing research on glioblastoma, astrostomas are the most common types of glioma found in adults. The tumors originate from cells called astrocytes, which is also known as the star-shaped cells. They create the supportive tissue in the brain, which fits their design so well. So that's why there is a lot of them inside the stage, because the stage symbolizes the brain. The starlets symbolize astrocytes, which are the star-shaped cells. So going into this, I had to draw a front, side, and a 3/4 view of Kitey's character. This would help me later on if I decide to model her avatar. I also had to make sure the front view and the side view anatomy lines up. That's why I drew lines connecting the two to make sure they are proportionate to each other. I was happy about the sketch in the line art phase, which then led to coloring rendering. Now, rendering is still something I struggle with. I feel like I don't have my rendering style where I want it exactly. I love texture, but I also like soft painterly and clean lines, so it's been a struggle to blend the two. I decided to take part of my design and render on the same face, but with different brushes and techniques every time to see if there's one I like the most. Now with the character design, it's kind of restrictive, so I wanted to generally not be too messy like the first one, but I really liked how that one looked. From the sheet, I didn't actually choose one, but I kind of had more of an idea of what I wanted to do to render, so I kind of just took a few and merged it together. Then I finally began to render. I suggest keeping a large folder which includes all of your favorite works by various artists for reference, even works from yourself as well. When I'm trying to come up with a rendering style, I always look at a lot of artists and pick out what I like about each of them. Not only is it extremely appealing to look at when rendering, but you also can include little details that other artists have included into their work that may help you find useful for your own artistic projects. For this, I use PureRef on my laptop, which is a free program which you can add as many photos as you want. VizRef is the same as PureRef, but is an iPad version, and I believe it costs $5, I think. So back to talking about her design. Her doll version and child self are based off pictures of me when I was a kid. Lulu was a nickname my parents gave me, short for Olivia, or Livy. I used to wear nightgowns to bed all the time, and I remember I had this one nightgown that was a light purple with little dark purple stars on it. That was my inspiration for Lulu's design. For Kitey's expression, I gave her an angry face. My mother always told me when I was growing up that I had a scowly face and I need to relax my eyebrows. My hair was always short growing up, so I gave them both short hair, although Kitey's hair goes in and Lulu's hair goes out. Kitey's name origin came from a name my brother called me when I was a little kid. He misheard the name Olivia and always called me Kitey, which is so strange how he misheard that much. But he called me that for years growing up, and it's something we joke about when we became older. Doing research on the name Kitey, not much showed up. It makes sense though, it's such an obscure name. I decided to look up the name Kite instead. On moonastro.com, the name Kite means mighty warrior. People with the name Kite are very creative in their ways. This name has an impact, making its native emotional. However, this name, which is considered to provide immense inner strength to his native. People who have this name can gain mastery over any problem without failure in their life. Because of their emotional temperament, these people have a tendency to face great negativity. They are likely to face certain losses in their life. As soon as I saw this, I knew it was the perfect name for her. They described her as a mighty warrior, which shows that she is both strong and vulnerable at the same time. As a young child, she shouldn't have to deal with something so terrible, which leaves her fragile in difficult situations. It is connected to me as well as connected to her character. There was some negatives to the name Kite. Nevertheless, there is a problem for them as they often adopt wrong ways to serve their purpose, but then only end up finding themselves in major inconvenience. Their inquiring nature can make them impatient sometimes instead of a rational mind. These people will have a wavering mind and often go restless. This demonstrates how impatient she is with the process of learning why her mother died the way she did. You cannot experience grief directly. The star on the top of her hat is supposed to replicate hope and to keep forward. I also wanted to mention, to represent the brain and its creativity, I chose a dreamlike setting, and also, theater stages also pertains to stages of the brain, because there's different stages of brain cancer or cancer in general, so that connects the two as well. For my mother's design, which I don't show the process in this video, but I do have some concept sketches from her design. I wanted her to be very lengthy and skinny. When my mother was bedridden, she lost a lot of weight as well as her muscle mass, making her look really bony-like. Her face is slim for the same reason. I decided to have her brain exposed in the design with a star and tentacles coming out to show where her tumor is. Tentacles are a big part of the story because tumors are tentacle-like. The ribbon around her waist and the outline ruffles surrounding her ribcage are supposed to replicate the cancer ribbon. Her ribbon is gray to support brain cancer awareness. Her hair is choppy to replicate the hair loss and hair growth process of chemo and constantly shaving her head. I gave them cell-like bits at the end of her hair. I made her eyes very solely bright blue. This is because whenever someone sees her, they always compliment how beautiful her eyes are. She is emotionless because her cancer affects the way she thinks and reacts. I am currently working section by section of the brain to fully critique and get into each of the section designs and everything. And I'm hopefully going to be starting to do some concept work about it, and I'm really going to be open about this project. And if there's any things that you think I should add or whatever, you can also mention that in the comments as well. I want this project to be as perfect as I can. This project is a learning experience for me, so I know what to do in the future. But yeah, this has just been such an amazing project to work on, and I hope you guys love my story, my character as much as I do. And it's very personal to me, which I like to bring that into my artwork. I just love childhood themes, and I think, it relates to feel like I lost a lot of that time in my life, and it's something that I really miss, so I always like bringing that type of theme into my artwork. But I think that wraps up this video. Like I said before, this story and the character designs are not final, so they'll probably change in the future. Same goes with the story. For the next video, like I said, I'll probably do a Q&A So if you have any questions or any video suggestions or literally anything, please put them in the comments, because like I said before, I'm really new to YouTube, and suggestions help a lot. Questions help, anything. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this project as much as I do, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, like I said, I post like a lot more on my Instagram, which is altruistic.heart on Instagram. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.